Here we go. Good evening, everyone. My name is Janet Forrest. I'm the Adult Program Coordinator at the Nantucket Atheneum, and welcome to Yummy Monday. I will just pass it right over to Seth, who can introduce himself and tell you what he's making tonight. So take it away, Seth.
Sure. Thank you, Janet, and thank you to the Nantucket Atheneum for having me here. My name is Seth Engelborg. Generally, when I'm on Zoom, I'm introducing myself as some affiliation, but today I'm just here as a citizen, member of the public, interested cook. I'm going to be showing you how to make a very simple hot sauce out of chili, and also some techniques for preserving chilies. So we're going to be doing this as a live demonstration, but it's going to be a little bit asynchronous. We have a few things that need to happen quickly, and then there's going to be a 15 to 20 minute period of time where the chilies just need to rest, so we can take questions then, and then we'll get back to the making of the rest of the hot sauce, the finishing of the demonstration, and we can take questions again. So we'll be pretty quick here before we get started, but it's just a few things. I want everyone to know that making hot sauce definitely isn't really a recipe. It's more like a choose your own adventure. So you get to choose kind of every step in the process. You get to make a choice. And one of the first steps you're going to choose is what type or types of chilies you're going to use, what types of peppers. And the second step is what kind of process you're going to use. So today we're using a combination of cayenne pepper, which is very hot, and also pepperoncini, which is not very hot, not really a typical hot sauce pepper, but I think it has a nice smoky flavor that we're going to incorporate with the cayenne. And the second thing we're doing is we're using a dried chili instead of a fresh chili, and I'll talk about why in a second. But I'm just going to share my screen and show two photos, and then we'll get started on the demonstration. So here is what drying chilies looks like. There's a variety of ways that you can dry chilies. You can do it the old-fashioned way, hang drying them on a line, like I did here. These are actually chilies that I grew this past summer and then hung them up to dry. And then by the end of the summer, I had a lot more than that. And I got a pile of peppers that looks like this, dried completely with zero moisture content and kind of just dried whole. And then they stayed like that for a while. They can stay like that for years. Once they're dried, they'll last years and years and years. They'll kind of get a little bit less spicy and a little bit less intense over time, but they will stay if they're kept properly stored for years. So I'll show you, we have our pile of dried chili peppers here. And after I dried them, I had to do one more step in the process, which was I took the whole dried pods and I cut the stem, the top off here. And then I cut it open like this, and I remove the seeds. And this is you can see the seeds pouring out there. You can see the seeds in there. We're just gonna make one more cut here and pull out this membrane. Shake the rest of the seeds out. And then we just have basically the flesh. It kind of just looks like dried skin right now, but this is really the flesh of the pepper. I made a personal choice along my process to remove the seeds. Not everybody does remove the seeds. If you keep the seeds, your pepper is going to be a little bit spicier, but it also is going to have not as good of a texture when you go to blend it later, because there's going to be bits of seed in there. So with that, we're going to move over to the stove and we're going to show you how this process of actually cooking the peppers works. But we're going to need to do a little bit of a technology switch. So hold on one second. All right, everybody. Sorry, can you see that? All right, so
Oh, I have to
we're gonna-
spotlight your other camera. Hold on.
okay, thank you. Sorry for the.
Where'd you go? Oh, there you go. I have you. I have you.
So we have a few things here. The first thing we're gonna do with our chilies. No, that's not me.
Okay.
That's you. So the first thing we're gonna do with our chilies is we're going to lightly toast them. So I just get my pan on. We're gonna toast with no oil, no butter, no anything, just right in the pan. So we're gonna let this heat up a little bit, and then we're gonna toast these chilies for maybe just two minutes or so. You can kind of shake them out like that, and then you're just gonna let this heat up and get a little bit toasty. So this might take a couple minutes. So if anyone has any questions while that's getting started, you can put it in the chat, or you can call out. Just clean up a little bit of my seeds over here. So while that's getting toasted, I'll start to run through the steps we're gonna do. So we're gonna toast the chilies to loosen up the oils in the skin. That's an optional step in this process, but it's gonna make it a little bit more flavorful. Then I have hot, really hot boiling water in the back of this stove here. We're gonna pour that water over these chilies and let it kind of all soak in to rehydrate the chilies. That's going to take 15 to 20 minutes. Then we're going to strain off that chili and water mixture. We're going to keep the straining mixture. I'm going to show you what it looks like. And then we're going to bring everything into the blender and bring everything together to incorporate it all into hot sauce. So it's tough when you're not here with me, but I can start to smell the oils in these skins developing. I just wanted to get a little bit more fragrant than that. Just kind of move it around a little bit.
Someone had a question, is the burner on high or what's the temperature?
Yeah, this burner is just on high because I forgot to preheat the pan. But if it was not on, if it was preheated correctly, I would have it more like a medium, but I don't want to take up your time. So we're just trying to get a little bit of toast to this chili so we can start to like smell it and see the skins loosen a little bit. I don't know if you can zoom in, but you can see they're kind of like moving around a little bit. And that's getting all the skins loosened up. And it's starting to smell really fragrant in here as well. So we're just gonna give it one more minute like that. And then we're gonna go on to the next step.
That was actually my question set. So it's fragrant. Is it spicy though? Like when you said you were going to make hot sauce, I was thinking, oh my God, is my whole house going to smell spicy and my eyes going to be watering?
So the end mixture of this sauce is going to be quite spicy because I'm using cayenne. Chilies are rated on what's called a Scoville heat unit index. It goes from like bell peppers at 0 to Carolina Reapers at over 2 million. Cayenne are like somewhere around 20,000 of these units, so they're quite hot. But I'm mixing in the pepperoncini, which are only about 500 of these units, to dull out the flavor a little bit. And one of the reasons why I'm using dried chilies rather than fresh chilies, there's three main reasons. The first is that dried chilies are going to be preserved for whenever I want to use them. Fresh chilies, you have to either go buy them at the store or grow them, harvest them, and then make a sauce right away. Dried chilies you can use whenever you want. The second is in the drying process, two things happen. The chilies get spicier because they're being stressed from losing their water content, but at the same time, they also get sweeter because the starches in the flesh are being converted to sugar. So you have a sauce that's sweeter and spicier at the same time. And the third and the most important reason, we're going to see this later, is fresh chilies have a kind of variable amount of moisture content, water in them, that you can't control. When you have dried chilies, you know the moisture content is 0, and you're only going to add in the exact measured amount of moisture that you want. So if we come back here, I now took my peppers off the heat. They've been toasted a little bit. I can smell their fragrancy. And now I have hot boiling water. What I'm going to do is I'm just going to take this water and I'm going to pour enough water to cover the surface of these chilies. Oops, it's just going to spill some on the ground, but I'm going to just cover these. I'm probably going to end up having to put all this water, and I'm going to let them soak in there. And I'm going to set a timer for 15 minutes. And in the next 15 minutes, we're going to talk a little bit more about the specifics of what we're doing and take questions. And what that's going to be doing is steeping these peppers. So if anyone's ever made tea before or coffee, you take something dried, you pour hot water over it, you let it sit or you let it kind of pulse through, and then it rehydrates the dried ingredients so that they're going to be have moisture content in them again. So I'm going to actually switch back to the camera over here now. So Janet, I'm on the other one now.
Yep, on it. Hold on. Here we go. There we go.
All right. Sorry for the back and forth, everybody, but I just wanted to make sure that we did that right away so that we would have enough time in this an hour process to get everything done. So as I said before, let's see what happened in the chat first of all. So you have the burner on high. So traditionally I wouldn't have the burner on high, but I forgot to preheat it. So it'd be more like a medium. And just for 1 or 2 minutes, just to get the skins lightly toasted. And so you can smell the oils coming out. Thank you, Janet, for putting the Scoville heat unit index in there. You can learn all about the different types of peppers, but the type of pepper sauce we're making, because it has cayenne, is going to be significantly hot. So, right, we started this process, but at the very beginning, I said hot sauce isn't just one recipe. It's kind of like a choose your own adventure. So what we're doing is one version of hot sauce with, one group of peppers and one variety. I've made hot sauce with fresh peppers too, and it's very tasty. I just personally like this using dried chilies better for the 3 reasons I mentioned below. It gives you a little bit more control in the process. So basically what hot sauce is just 3 ingredients at its minimum. It's peppers, it's vinegar, and it's salt. And depending on the moisture content of your peppers, you might have to add some water in as well, but you might not if you're using fresh peppers. So today we're going to be using the peppers that we just got started. We're going to be using, you can use any vinegar for hot sauce. The reason for the vinegar, it does 2 things. It helps preserve the sauce because vinegar is a good preservative, and it also gives you a nice tanginess to it. So today we're going to be using apple cider vinegar. This is a local cider vinegar from Massachusetts, but you could use white wine vinegar, red wine vinegar, rice vinegar, plain white vinegar, balsamic, you name it, any vinegar would work. And then salt, just just regular kosher salt here. And then beyond that, once you have those three ingredients, you have the opportunity to add in any other combination of flavor enhancers. So a lot of times you see garlic in hot sauce, you see other spices, and then a lot of times you see fruit. There's mango hot sauce, peach. You let your imagination run wild. You can put vegetables in there. You can put citrus. A lot of times you see grapefruit, orange, lemon, etc. You can put alcohol in there. There's tequila hot sauce, whiskey hot sauce, you name it. But what we're doing is kind of just building out the backbone of a recipe today. That's a very basic sauce, and then showing you how to add on. But we're just going to be using water, vinegar, the peppers, salt, and I'm going to add a little bit of garlic powder, but nothing really beyond that. So do people have questions so far while we let the peppers steep?
I have a question. I love balsamic vinegar, but it never occurred to me to use it for hot sauce. What's some of the varieties you've made?
Pepper seeds if you wanted to grow peppers this summer.
Sure. So if you want to grow your own peppers this summer, you could buy hot peppers from one of the garden centers here, like Bartlett's, a Marine Home, Island Lumber, or you could order them from a seed catalog. Seed catalogs used to be a catalog that sent to your house. A lot of times now it's an internet catalog, but there's burpee seeds, there's all sorts of different seed catalogs, and you can buy the specific type of pepper you want. So if you want habanero, go online, search habanero seeds in your seed catalog, click how many you want, and then you order them. I will say that growing peppers is a little bit trickier than some other vegetables, but if you just give it a couple tries and aren't afraid to maybe not get germination of every seed you plant, then it will be fine. So this, as I said before, we're doing this sauce with peppers that I grew here at my home, but you could do this with peppers from the grocery store. You could buy fresh peppers at the grocery store and dry them yourself. You could buy fresh peppers at the grocery store and make a fresh hot sauce, or you could buy dried peppers at the grocery store and just do the same thing as I was doing from commercially bought dried peppers. Okay. What other kinds of vinegar have I made hot sauce with? So I tend to like pretty simple hot sauces. So usually just using either just regular white vinegar or apple cider vinegar, kind of like a traditionalist. But a couple of times I've gone a little bit, more creative, and you can actually dial back on the vinegar if you're going to add alcohol. So I made a bourbon hot sauce one time with very little vinegar, but it had quite a bit of alcohol in it to act as a preservative.
Is it, when you use alcohol, is it boozy?
Like spicy.
All right, so we have a question. What's a good pepper for someone who doesn't like spicy foods? So the method I'm showing today, I'm claiming is for hot sauce, but actually it could be done with any pepper. So you could make a mild pepper sauce, a sweet chili sauce with the same method. So you could use something that had relatively low Scoville heat units. You go on the link that Janet posted in the chat, you look at something that's probably 1,000 or less, and your options are probably going to be like banana pepper, bell pepper, pepperoncini, maybe some jalapeno. Some jalapenos, like green jalapenos, aren't too spicy, but you kind of have to judge from there. And if you remove the seeds and the membranes when you're making your hot sauce, you're going to end up with a sauce that's much less spicy than if you kept the membranes and the seeds in. A lot of the spice in peppers comes from the seed and the membrane. So we can maybe give a quick look to what our mixture is looking like. I'll just bring my computer. So it's just there. It's just there simmering, kind of steeping. The water is turning really brown. That might be hard to see, but those peppers are taking that liquid back up and are rehydrating. I'm just going to give it one quick stir. So it's tough to see or understand over Zoom, but in my pan, what started as essentially like a crinkly skin of a pepper, something that you could easily break and crack with your hand, has now just in that 10 minutes has soaked up a lot of that water content already, and you wouldn't be able to crumble it now. You would have to cut it or rip it.
Seth, when you make
the whole purpose of rehydrating. And yeah, I mentioned that we're using dried peppers today, but I forgot to say, if you do grow your own peppers or you buy peppers from the store and you want to try this, you want to try drying peppers, you can do it in one of three ways. You can do what I showed in the picture, which is hang drying. It's really simple. You just take a piece of cotton twine and tie it around the stem of the pepper, make a line and hang it from two hooks to each other, and just let the pepper naturally air dry until when you feel it, it doesn't have any kind of softness to it. It just feels completely dry. That is easy on Nantucket. It's easier in the summer than the winter. If you live somewhere that's like an arid climate, like a desert, you can do it pretty much any day of the year with no problem. The second method you could use is to use a commercial food dehydrator. So you would, take the peppers, put them in your dehydrator trays, set the dehydrator to go, and it will dehydrate it for you. And then the last method, if you don't have a dehydrator and you're a little bit nervous about hang drying, or you don't have the time for hang drying, is you can turn your oven onto the lowest possible setting, which on most commercial ovens is 170. And you're actually going to want it to be a little bit less than that. You want it to be about 150, 155. So if you keep the door of your oven cracked open, it'll be about 155. You could put your peppers on a sheet pan with a tray, put the peppers on the tray, and put the peppers in the oven at 170 with the door cracked for about 2 to 3 hours. They'll be completely dry by the end of that time. So those are the three ways that I know of to dry peppers. I guess you could also sun dry them, but that's relatively hard in this climate. Those are the three ways that I would recommend drying peppers. All right, so we have about 5 minutes left. So we'll go to the chat. All right, when you make hot sauce with booze, is it boozy or does the alcohol burn off? So when you make hot sauce with booze, it's gonna have alcohol content to it. So some people at the end of their hot sauce creating session, or I guess at the end of their process, they're going to do an extra step that I'm not going to show today. Basically, once you've blended everything and you've gotten your sauce, some people pour it back into a pot and cook it for like 20 minutes to let the flavors develop more. That's not required. That's just an extra step. So if you did that, then the alcohol would burn off. But in the way I'm demonstrating today, once it goes in the blender, the only thing you do after that is just pour it off into a container. So if you add alcohol into that, it's going to be an alcoholic hot sauce. Let's see. Right. So then I see a question from Joanne about growing Scotch bonnets for jerk sauce. So Scotch bonnets are quite a spicy pepper. And if you do what you do, you pull them and freeze them, use them right out of the freezer. She's asking if you can do the same method with other types of pepper. Sure, you can definitely just harvest peppers and freeze them, and that will work as a preservation technique. But one of the things about freezing peppers is that if you freeze them fresh, not dried, you are keeping all of that moisture content in the pepper. So when you go to make a sauce later after you take it out of the freezer, you're going to have to be a little bit careful, making sure you change your ratios to recognize that moisture content. So you're not like making a sauce that is too wet and too thin. But yeah, you can freeze any type of pepper. Freezers are incredible preservation machines. All right, that's my timer. You can freeze any type of pepper, but I personally think drying peppers is a much better preservation technique. It takes longer and it's a little bit more effort intensive, but it's going to create a product that is easier to work with and lasts, essentially forever and won't take up your freezer space. So I think our peppers are sufficiently rehydrated now. So apologize for going back and forth, but we're going to switch back over to the other camera and we're going to show you the rest of the demonstration about what we do with these peppers now that they're rehydrated.
Ready to go to camera 2. There you go.
There we go.
All right. Am I here? Okay. So if you want to come and zoom in on these peppers, I don't know if you remember what they looked like at the beginning, but they were very kind of crunchy and crackly. Now they're fleshy and you can move them around, and I'll pick one up for you. You can see, that the skin looks more like what you would imagine a pepper to. That's the inside. That's the outside. When you harvest a bell pepper or you buy one at the store, that's what the skin looks like. So what we're going to do now is, if you zoom in on this liquid, well, that liquid, when we started, it was crystal clear, didn't have any color to it. It's quite orange yellow now. This is called, the steeping liquid. But we're going to strain these peppers, and we're going to pour off that steeping liquid. And then I'm going to talk about a choice we have with that steeping liquid. Well, let's get started by pouring these off. So I'm just going to put a measuring cup in the sink, colander over it. And I'm going to pour these into here. All right, so if you can see there now, you have peppers that are rehydrated. They're back to fleshy. They're not, crunchy and crackly anymore. And now we have this steeping liquid, which is this really like golden yellow brown color. So in our recipe now, the next thing we're going to be doing is we're going to be mixing the peppers, the vinegar, salt, and water into our blender to make our hot sauce. And we have two choices with the water. The reason I kept the steeping liquid was to show you a lot of people use that steeping liquid for the sauce. I am not going to use that steeping liquid. I'm going to use fresh water. The reason why is because I feel like the steeping liquid is a little bit bitter. It does have a lot of flavor and a lot of spice in there because it's basically been sitting in that hot water has been sitting in peppers, soaking up all that flavor. But when it steeps, it pulls out some of the bitterness in the peppers too. So I prefer to just use fresh water. So what we're gonna do, we're gonna take our peppers. We're gonna put them into our blender like that. Make sure we got them all. And we're gonna take our vinegar. And we're gonna start with 2 tablespoons, but we might go more depending on how the thickness and taste of the sauce is. We're gonna put 1 tablespoon, 2 tablespoons in there. And then we're gonna take some salt. And we don't need a lot of salt for hot sauce, probably just a teaspoon or 2. I'll start with 1 teaspoon and we'll go from there. And then the last thing we'll need is water. So I'm probably gonna need a cup of water or less. Get some water. So I don't want to put this whole cup in right at once because if I do that, I don't have a lot of control over how thick or thin it's going to be. I know I'm going to need up to a cup. I won't need more than that, but I'll probably need less. So I'm probably going to pour in like 1/4 of a cup and go from there. Just enough to, when I start to run the blender, it's going to be able to actually spin. And then that's really all we need for hot sauce. Just those ingredients. We could blend this right now and it would be a perfectly delicious, very simple hot sauce. But if you want it to be more special or a little bit more creative, now is when you could put in your citrus, your fruit, your vegetables, your alcohol, your other peppers, whatever. We're just gonna put or garlic, onion, fresh, dried, any of those things. We're just gonna put a little bit of garlic powder. I usually like to use fresh garlic in my cooking, but the reason we're gonna use powder today is because I want this sauce to be as thin, as smooth as possible. So if I use fresh garlic, there's gonna be some chunks left. So I'm just gonna put maybe about a teaspoon garlic powder in there. You can use fresh garlic.
There's a couple questions in the chat. Can I ask them?
Yes.
So Ray wants to know how many peppers you're using approximately.
Sure. So I used 20 cayenne and 20 pepperoncini.
Okay.
For this. A lot of recipes call for like 30 to 50 peppers. It is important to know because the more or less peppers you have, the more or less water and spices you'll need. What else is in the chat?
And also, someone wants to know if you ever add any sort of oil.
No, you can add oil, but you're gonna go a little bit outside the scope of what most people think of as hot sauce. Hot sauce usually doesn't have any oil or fats in it, but you could do it. It won't affect the performance of it at all, but it's just not the taste I'm looking for. So are we ready to blend?
Yeah, let's do it.
All right, so I'm gonna turn this on. I'm gonna start at low, just kind of blending. I might need a little bit more. All right, I'm gonna check this sauce for consistency. I'm gonna, it smells good for sure. I'm gonna check it for consistency. It's definitely not too watery, which is good. I'm gonna slide everything down in here, scrape the sides. Sometimes people are looking for like a really bright red hot sauce. You get that, I think, a lot more if you use fresh peppers because they retain the color a bit more. So that's why this is more of an orange. And also because I mixed in some pepperoncini with my cayenne. I had a few different colors mixed in, so we have more of an orange here. Well, we got a pretty good consistency, but we just want to mix that down and try to blend again. All right, I think we're probably well blended there. I got a little bit of the smell. I put my mouth over that, and a little bit of the pepper fumes had aerosolized, and I think this is going to be a pretty hot sauce after inhaling that. But what we're going to do is we're going to taste it and adjust any of the flavors as necessary. And then we might blend one more time just to make sure. We'll get in here. I don't know if you want to do a close up. We have a nice orange. So it kind of looks brown in that, but in my light, it's nice and orange. It's definitely spicy. It has a good flavor to it. We're gonna put a little bit more salt and a little bit more garlic and a little bit more vinegar just to round out the flavors a little bit. Mix again, and then we're going to, I'll put this into a jar for everyone to see, and then we're gonna bottle it. A little bit more salt.
Do you ever have a hard time cleaning your blender after this?
This is a dishwasher safe blender, so I just put it in the dishwasher. A little bit more garlic. And a little bit more vinegar. So if you make a sauce with all cayenne, which I've done before, it's gonna be probably pretty overwhelming. This is a spicy sauce for sure. But with the pepperoncini and the other ingredients mixed in, it's not like, it didn't make me want to cry. Let's say that. It was spicy. I'm gonna mix that all together one or two more times, retaste, and go from there. mix it down, blend one more time, and then I think we'll finally be ready.
Seth, someone had a question. If it were too spicy, is there a way to mellow it out?
Yeah, sure. So that's where you can go to your flavor enhancers. So a lot of people want a big heat pepper, like a Scotch bonnet, habanero, ghost pepper, something like that, but they don't want all the heat in their face. So they're gonna mix it with a sweet fruit, like a peach or a mango. Or you can go to your citrus, or if you want, you can actually add a sweetener in, like sugars, maple syrup, anything. Citrus like lime or orange juice with that acidity definitely will mellow everything out. But you don't want to like overdo it. Some people like really like to put all sorts of ingredients. I like to have chili pepper forward sauces. That's personal choice, but there are definitely ways to mellow it up. Okay, just gonna blend one last time here. All right. Don't need the rest of this water. Pour it out. And I will transfer my sauce into this vessel. I got about a cup out of that, more if I scrape that, which I'll probably do later. And gonna just give this a swirl. Give it another taste for posterity. Yeah, that's nice. That's a lot better with the other ingredients mixed in. So we can go back, I think, a final time to the computer, and then we'll wrap it up.
I can't find your, oh, there you are. I see you. There.
Hi there, everybody. Sorry, my audio was off on here. So, yep, so there was about approximately 40 peppers in this recipe. I used about 20 cayenne and 20 pepperoncini, but you could use all of one, or you could use any combination of both. Cayenne and pepperoncini tend to be quite small peppers in terms of mass. So you need about 40, but if you're using a bigger pepper, like a jalapeno or a guajillo or something like that, something that's going to be a larger size, you would adjust the peppers down maybe about 20 or 30 based on the size of the pepper. So I have just like a jar of sauce now. It doesn't kind of look right in the light. It looks brown on the camera, but here it's a nice orange color. And at this point, I now have two choices. A lot of people, they're going to put this back into a pot and cook it off for about 20 minutes. That's going to develop the flavor more, and it's going to develop the color a little bit more. But it's going to mute some of, it's going to kind of blend everything together. Some people do that, some people don't. I'm not going to. The other thing you could do is, if you like the thickness, but you want it to be a little bit more uniform, you could strain this through a sieve before you bottle it. I'm not going to do that either. I'm just going to go straight to the bottling. I have a 16-ounce bottle here, and I have a funnel, and I'm just going to pour this right into the bottle. Probably don't need a 16-ounce bottle, but that's what I have. Try to get the rest of this out of here.
Take a picture and put it on Nantucket Cooks. I want to see what the real color is.
All right, I will. Probably try to get the rest of those scraps later, but I'm gonna try to get some more into my jar.
Someone wants to know what you're going to put it on.
Yep, I saw that. I'll answer that in 1 second. So I have that, just filtering down into a bottle, and it'll just be there for me, and it's been nicely preserved. I will keep this in the fridge because even though it has like the vinegar as a preservative in it, it still needs to be refrigerated. If you went forth and did another version of hot sauce making, which would be to ferment it, then it would be shelf stable, but this isn't. So yeah, for what you can use this for, this is a great spicy sauce that would be perfect for Latin food, tacos, burritos, great on eggs, things like that. I don't eat a lot of wings, but it would be good on wings too. In the fridge, this will last like up to a year. And it's because it has that vinegar in it. It might even be fine for longer, but I don't think it will last a year. I think we'll use it before then. So that's kind of what you do. If anyone has any follow-up or remaining questions, happy to answer them. Again, this is just one small insight into one method for making hot sauce, but it's not the only. And it's definitely just kind of like a basic recipe that then could be added on to later. So I'll take any questions, and I really thank you all for letting me spend this hour with you, and it's been fun. Sorry for the back and forth with the cameras, but hopefully it was easy enough to see.
No, you guys look like pros. What's the best sauce you've ever made and the worst sauce you've ever made?
I don't know about worst. I made one when I was younger, like in high school, that I really overestimated how much water was needed. It was just super, super liquidy. It tasted fine though. It was just not the consistency I was looking for. And the best was probably that bourbon hot sauce I was telling you about. If I was going to add lime, I would probably add like between half to a full squozen lime. Start with maybe a half, taste it, and go from there. And then are the peppers that I are using easy to find? I would say that cayenne pepper is one of the easiest peppers to find commercially. The easiest peppers to find in the supermarket are jalapeno, cayenne, and habanero. Pepperoncini are super easy to find, pickled only. So like brined, that's the yellow pickled peppers that people see on pizzas and stuff like that. Fresh pepperoncini or dried pepperoncini are going to be impossible to find commercially. You'd have to grow them yourself.
Where do you get your peppers on island? You grow yours, don't you?
I grew all these, yeah. But if I wasn't, then I would buy them, in the winter at probably Stop and Shop, and in the summer at one of the farm stands.
You can also check out the El Salvadorian market. I've gotten dried peppers there before too. They have a selection of dried peppers.
Nice, that's great. But I bet they don't have pepperoncini because it's kind of a weird pepper to use dried. I would say like 99% of pepperoncini goes straight into pickling because that's what people enjoy. But pepperoncini is, I think, underappreciated for its other flavors. It has like a nice earthy, smoky flavor to it, which added into this sauce is going to cut down on the spice forward flavor. I mean, it's hot, but it's going to have like a bit of a smoke to it as well.
Does anyone have any other questions before we wrap up? All right. Oh, just a thank you. Thanks for doing this, Seth. If anyone wants to watch this again, I'm going to have it. I'm a little bit behind, but I'm going to have all our Yummy Mondays posted on our YouTube page. If you want to learn more about Seth, he works over at Linda Loring, and he knows a lot about birds and everything else.
That's true. I do have quite a few other Zoom webinar type presentations out on the internet, but they're mostly about ecology and natural history, not about cooking. But thank you so much to the Nantucket Atheneum and to Janet especially for inviting me to be here.
Yeah, thanks, Seth. Have a great night, everyone. And come back next week. Andrew and I are going to make a plant-based vegan mac and cheese. Don't be scared. It's really delicious.
That sounds good.
All right. Good night, everyone.